Yeah, we're off. Hi, guys.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, Diane, good to see you.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth.
G'day, Phil. Good to see you, mate.
Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. My life has value.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Global Watchmen News. My name is Lori Swan. Hope you guys are all doing well. If you happen to be in the YouTube live chat, we do ask that you keep it family friendly. There will be moderators in there to make sure that we stay within the terms of service put forth to us by the platform we're utilizing tonight. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Take a minute to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you know when we go live. If you are listening over on one of our other platforms on our podcast, we want to say welcome to you all. And we want to say thank you for your continued support. It is Wednesday night. That means that we are back up with our usual cast of characters. I want to welcome back everybody to the panel. First of all, my co-host, Ernie Beware.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing tonight? I hope you guys are blessed, and hopefully you still have, your Bibles open, because we're going to be discussing a lot of interesting things tonight about a certain religious organization that has been ruling the world ever since before Jesus.
That's right. Also, welcome back to the panel. We got Big John with us.
It's your old pal back again one more time.
How you doing, Big John?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. And we also have to the panel with us, Hero. Welcome back, Hero.
How's it going?
How's you been?
I've been doing good.
Good. All right, so we're going to discuss today. First of all, I want to preface this by telling you guys, look, we are not up here to attack any religion. We are not up here to sway your mind in any way, shape, or form. We're here to give you the facts. We're here to give you information. And as always, we tell you, don't believe what we say. Research it for yourself. Study to show thyself approved. The Bible tells us to test all things, and that's what we're going to do tonight, is we're going to test something in particular, and that is the Roman Catholic Church. That is the Vatican. We're going to start out the program today just like we did last week with the Smithsonian with a short video. This is by a channel called The Fuel Project, and take a listen. Very interesting. And we're off.
The gospel eventually reached Rome, which was the epicenter of the greatest empire.
Hold on a minute, I was listening to it. There we go.
The gospel eventually reached Rome, which was the epicenter of the greatest empire in the world at the time. What happened here would have particular significance because what was decided in this city would be carried across Europe and the earth to its furthest outposts. So what did happen here? Christianity dropped into the midst of a city completely under the spell of Babylonian worship, and whose emperor was the current high priest of the mysteries. Not an easy beginning. The people of Rome were thoroughly indoctrinated with the habits, superstitions, and traditions that had originated with Nimrod and Semiramis. To be honest, it was a cesspit. Therefore, it should come as no surprise to learn that Christians were bitterly persecuted by the Romans, who tolerated everyone except those who believed in Jesus. The claim that particularly infuriated Roman emperors was that Jesus was the way, the truth, and the life, and that no one comes to the Father except by me, as he said in John 4:16. This was a direct challenge to their position as gods. Christians utterly denied all pagan gods and refused to bow down to any of them, knowing that in doing so, they would be bound down to demons and by proxy be bowing to Satan himself. This meant that whenever a tragedy occurred in Rome, Christians were made scapegoats, being blamed for bringing the wrath of the gods upon the people because of their unwillingness to sacrifice, appease, or pay tribute to them. Christians' unwillingness to bow to emperors as gods was also considered an act of sedition. The consequent brutality of the Roman Empire towards Christians has gone down in infamy. Once captured, Christians were thrown to lions for sport in colosseums, while the baying crowd watched them being torn limb from limb. They were dipped in oil and then set alight at the side of the roads to become living human torches. Another method of execution was being sewn into animal skins and then led to die at the fangs and claws of wild animals. Some were noted to have had crowns of metal nailed into their heads.
Wow.
The book of Hebrews in the Bible reports that some were placed inside a hollowed out tree and then sawn in half. These things illustrate the viciousness of Satan's hatred and retaliation towards God's people. Never underestimate just how much Satan despises a follower of God, or what he would do to us if he was in a position of power. Remember the golden rule: manipulation and deception while in a position of weakness, intimidation and violence while in a position of power. The ultimate aim is always dominance. And when Satan eventually has his way on this earth at the end of the age and reaches a position of power, the Bible tells us that there will be a great tribulation that the world has never seen before or will ever see again. It wasn't until Emperor Constantine, who signed the Edict of Milan in 312 AD, that allowed for the tolerance of Christianity, that the persecution really came to an end. Now, the world at large traditionally sees this as the best thing that could ever have happened to Christianity, but I'm going to suggest it wasn't.
It was the worst thing.
You see, while many believe this was the pivotal moment in Christian history that allowed it to settle and grow and to become the largest religion in the world, the evidence suggests that, firstly, Constantine only legalized Christianity for political reasons, and that his own supposed conversion wasn't truly sincere. For example, there's evidence to show that Constantine still retained many elements of sun worship even after his supposed conversion, and that there have been reports of secret Vatican files that prove he kept his allegiance to the sun god. Coins carrying his image from this period continue to portray him as Sole Invicto Comet, which means colleague of the invincible sun. Then there is the fact that he changed the traditional Sabbath day of God, which was Saturday, to the now generally accepted Sunday or Sun God Day. Constantine's personal life also reflected the theory that he hadn't ever truly converted to Christianity or understood its message. He became a cruel and dissolute monarch whose cruelty extended to members of his own family. He was also clearly corrupted by his fortune. If we judge the tree by its fruits, we would reasonably conclude that he remained untouched by the love of Christ until the end. The truth is that there was such uproar and division in the Roman Empire at the time that its unity was beginning to be threatened. If the unity of Rome was threatened, so was Constantine's grip on power. So politically speaking, it made sense to change tack from Plan B tactics, oppression, violence, and persecution regarding the Christians, to Plan A tactics, which is manipulation and flattery. That's effectively what happened here. The persecution, if anything, was making the Christians stronger. So from Constantine onwards, the persecution and killing stopped, and instead Christian leaders were manipulated and lured with promises of wealth and power.
Mm-hmm.
Constantine basically appealed to the vanity and pride of the bishops of the time. He went on a charm offensive and bestowed a number of favors on the church. Instead of martyring bishops, he began to treat them as his political aides and gave them a say in his empire's political affairs. They were raised to a high rank and given a life of great opulence in the imperial city. Very naturally and predictably, signs of worldliness appeared amongst them, like pursuit of luxury and personal ambition. Error and corruption began entering the church, and a focus on wealth acquisition crept in. They forgot Jesus' pronouncement that his kingdom was not of this world in John 18:36, and soon became double-minded. One of the main reasons we should suspect Constantine never truly converted was that he failed to relinquish his inherited title of Supreme Pontiff, or High Priest, that had first been assumed by Julius Caesar. Constantine therefore remained the official earthly
Actually, that's maximum pontiff.
head of the mysteries throughout his life. It
Not
wasn't until
supreme
376 AD that the young Emperor Gratian became the first to refuse the position of Supreme Pontiff, considering it inconsistent with faith in Christ. In addition, he also legally abolished paganism in the empire at this time, although this abolition didn't extend to the city of Rome itself, where it was still rampant. In fact, Rome at this time was colloquially referred to as the sink of all superstitions. After Gratian refused the office of Supreme Pontiff or High Priest, it became vacant once more, and the links in the chain that had gone back to Nimrod were broken, but only for 2 years. It was soon reinstated to Damascus, the then Bishop of Rome, who had gained the position after much fighting and bloodshed with rivals. This position of Supreme Pontiff has been held by the Bishop of Rome ever since. The Bishop of Rome is better known today as the Pope, and therefore the Catholic Pope is still the head of the mysteries of Babylon and its pagan offshoots today. If we follow this to its logical conclusion, as shocking as this may sound, the Pope is therefore still the earthly head of Satan's system of worship. Stanley's History on page 40 says, "The popes fill the place of the vacant emperors at Rome, inheriting their power, their prestige, and their titles from paganism." Pope Damascus recognized the power inherent in his new title. He believed himself to be head over not just the Christian church, but also over the pagans in Rome. It meant complete authority and domination, both the secular and sacred under one system. How is the Roman Church to consolidate this rule over the pagans and the Christians under one system? They needed to somehow iron out the differences between the Babylonian system and the Christian system to create a unity between all peoples.
Hey,
And that
Susan,
meant
good to see ya.
compromise. What the Catholic Church did was consistently compromise the gospel message with pre-existing pagan beliefs and adapted it based on whatever form of Babylonian mysticism a culture held to. Now, compromising the truth with different types of lies is like mixing ice cream with different types of dirt. At the end of the day, all you're left with is dirt. So while the average historian will explain that from 378 AD onwards, within 50 years, the spread of Christianity had completely vanquished paganism in Rome, that's not what happened. Paganism had not vanished. At the beginning of the 5th century, it had simply been absorbed into Roman Catholicism, which now contained all manner of superstitious rites and ceremonies inherited from Babylon. Pagan doctrines, rites, and symbols were incorporated into the church and merely covered with a facade of Christianity. It was this, and not an outpouring of the Spirit, that brought a multitude of pagan worshippers into the Church of Rome. Catholicism basically became paganism with a Christian mask. It was after this time that the words of warning given by the Apostle Paul to Timothy began to be fulfilled. The Spirit clearly says that in later times some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. Such teachings come through hypocritical liars whose consciences have been seared as with a hot iron. They forbid people to marry and order them to abstain from certain foods, which God created to be received with thanksgiving by those who believe and who know the truth. Celibacy, compulsory fasting, idolatry, and baptismal regeneration, and many other false ideas quickly became the accepted
Susan, neither did the Nazis. They all went to Russia and America.
doctrines of the
The
church.
scientists.
I'll give you an example of what I mean. One of the main differences between Christianity and paganism was that Christianity was monotheistic while paganism was polytheistic. Trying to get the pagans to give up their multiple gods proved tricky, and so, in order to merge the two systems, the Roman Church began to suggest the idea of patron saints. In effect, what they said was, you don't need to stop praying to all these various gods and goddesses. All you have to do is call them by a new name. Instead of a god of the travelers, we'll appoint a saint of the travelers. Instead of a god of the sea, there is now a saint for seafarers, etc.
Wow, good
So where there
figure.
had previously been a pagan god or goddess assigned to aspects of daily life in the mystery system, the Catholic Church merely replaced these gods
Hey,
with
Johnny.
saints who were to be prayed to, revered, and looked
Yeah, Shawnee, daylight savings come in here yesterday, so I'm going an hour earlier every night now.
for guidance instead. Because many people had carved idols of gods and goddesses in their house, they weren't asked to discard them completely, but just to revere them under a new name and identity. All the many pictures and images that existed because of the mother and child cults of the day, and which originally represented Semiramis and Tammuz, were simply renamed Mother Mary and Christ. The paganism was not removed, it was just given a makeover. Another problem for effecting change was the festivals of the day. People's years were marked by religious holidays much like our own are today. Imagine trying to get everyone in the world to give up Christmas next year. It would be a nearly insurmountable task. People love their holidays. The Catholic Church decided that instead of abandoning the old pagan holidays, they would simply adopt them under a new meaning. The winter solstice festival called Saturnalia, or the Feast of Saturn in Rome, occurred in the week prior to the 25th of December, and the day itself was called Natalis Invictis Solis, which means the birthday of the unconquered sun. Indeed, 25th of December was widely regarded by all Babylonian religions to be the birthday of Nimrod. It's a date that crops up frequently. In Egypt, Isis, who is the equivalent of Ashtoreth, and who was worshipped as the Queen of Heaven, was said to be born in this date also. So what did the Catholics do? Effectively, they said, keep your festival, but let's just adopt it as the birthday of Jesus Christ instead. Similarly, the spring equinox festival for the goddess of fertility, associated with regeneration, was adopted as Easter. The name Astarte or Ishtar became Easter in Gaelic, and it's from this name that you get the word Easter. Eggs that originally represented fertility were Christianized as a representation of the stone that was rolled away from the front of Jesus' tomb. It was also as a result of merging Babylon with the church that the idea of Lent was introduced. Lent has no biblical basis whatsoever, but was merely an essential part of the Babylonian spring festivals that Catholics adopted under a new meaning. In autumn, there was a harvest festival that honored the goddess Pomona, and this became Christianized as All Souls' Day, with All Saints' Day coming on the 1st of November to again honor the saints. It is better known today as Halloween, the night where evil is celebrated most overtly. As a night to honor the Catholic saints, it is effectively a night to honor demons. The practice of bobbing for apples originated with the celebration of Pomona, who is the goddess of fruit and trees. In this, we may also see a link to the tree of knowledge. Can we say that bobbing for apples is a reenactment and celebration of the moment when Adam and Eve ate of that tree? As the Roman Empire spread to Celtic areas, where the mysteries had become Druidism, The date became a night to honor the god
Yep.
Samhain. Now note the similarity between the names Samhain and Satan. What this all adds up to is simply that when it was made legal in Rome, Catholicism did not Christianize the pagan religions, but that the reverse is true. The pagan religions polluted Christianity to produce Catholicism. Catholicism gradually became nothing more than a mystery religion with a Christian facade. So before we end this part, it's probably thrown up a lot of questions. Should we go to church on a Sunday instead of a Saturday? Should we celebrate Christmas and Easter in the light of this knowledge? I know some people have uncovered this information and now don't. Firstly, I would say to do away with the Catholic saints and don't pray to them as they are in fact demons. Also, Halloween should always be completely off the agenda for a Christian. It remains from all possible angles nothing but a celebration of evil, witchcraft, sorcery, darkness, occult activity, and demons. Christians should have nothing to do with this holiday, as it never has been rooted in anything other than the occult. In fact, it's been said that asking a Christian to celebrate Halloween is like asking a Holocaust survivor to celebrate Hitler's birthday. That's not too far off the mark.
Ooh,
With regards to the others,
great
one Bible
comparison.
verse keeps coming to mind. And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. Should we boycott Christmas as a celebration of Christ? I don't think so. We should just make sure that we celebrate it unto the Lord, that we shouldn't get sidetracked with the secular side that is ultimately not of God's kingdom. When some choose to make Christmas about Santa, we should choose to make Christmas about Christ. When some choose to make Easter about rabbits, we should celebrate it unto the Lord and make it about Christ also. I would, however, encourage that we stop calling it Easter and instead get into the habit of calling it Resurrection Sunday. Remember that in all things there are two competing kingdoms, the kingdom of God and the kingdom of darkness. Whenever there is a secular parallel to our Christian holidays, it can be guaranteed that the secular parallel is coming from Satan to take attention away from Jesus. Whatever we undertake and whatever we celebrate, we should do it unto the Lord, shunning secularism in the process, which is ultimately just a part of the kingdom of darkness. You may still think I'm being too harsh on Catholicism after this, so in this next section we'll start to uncover its symbolism in more depth.
All right. Thoughts?
If I remember correctly, Constantine was the emperor who made it so that people believed that Christ was God and not the Son of God, correct?
Constantine he was the one that formed the religious canon. He's the one that changed the date of the Sabbath. He put books in the Bible, took books out of the Bible. The book of Revelation was never even in the Bible until after one of the councils. I don't know if it was the Council of Nicaea or which one it was, but it was one of those councils that put the book of Revelation in. But Constantine was one. He had the book of Enoch taken out. He's the one that changed the Sabbath.
Oh,
He did a lot of things and formed what is known as canon.
Well, he also paganized Christianity by incorporating pagan customs and traditions into Christianity, such as Christmas and Easter, and a lot of the holy days that we celebrate today were created by him, just because he wanted to get under the good graces of Christians, because they were on the increase during that day.
Right. And, and I thought it's interesting, and it's the reason why I played that particular one. That is it's a 73 or 74 part series. I will give you guys the link to it when we're done here. From the Fuel Project, Mark Fairley did a great job. And the reason why I played that one, the particular one, was because that was the one that he said, and he showed you that in the time when paganism was running rampant and the Catholic Church, they were threatened by it and they were trying to convert people. And they couldn't get these pagans to convert. They couldn't get them to give up their festivals, their little g gods, their way of life, their multifaceted belief system. So at the time, the Pope was like, you know what? That's okay. You don't have to give it up. We'll just bring it into us. And that's where all of our patron saints came from. And I don't think people really understand that when you pray or when you wear a medal or your sepulchre as a Roman Catholic, you're giving homage to these little g gods, guys.
Yes,
Well,
definitely.
I mean, when you live in a world that is completely carnal, that's what you're going to worship. Our body's designed to worship one thing or the other, God or Satan. We are not worshiping God. We're worshiping the devil. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So if you conform to the ways of this world and the customs and traditions, you're conforming to the ways of Satan and his demonic army. I mean, there is no like gray area in between that. It's either black or is it white. It's nothing in between.
John?
I mean, yeah, the video shows the parallel, like, you know, the instead of with the church and everything that they do. And they may have known, you know, the mysteries from having, because obviously, like, their hats are Dagon, you know, the fish god, which is Osiris. I mean, it's all the same thing. But when the Spanish Inquisition, when their priests went out with the conquistadors and they were confirming this, meeting these people who were always there. You know, even when Moses was writing the Torah, you had the Anasazi over there in Utah. You know, it's at the same time on the planet. So when all the chroniclers, they were all Catholic priests, went out, that was the time of all this. That was the real confirmation. And that's when the Catholic Church started doing what? Building churches on top of these antediluvian structures, all in South America, all in Central America, you know, obviously after a while into North America. But and then that's what they were doing off the islands of, you know, of Italy with, you know, Sardinia and Malta, because what was it doing? It was giants. That's exactly what they were going for. You know, they probably knew, you know, weird things here and there, but the giants is what they were told. We got to like put a stop to this. We have to hide this any means necessary. Oh. So, but yeah, the Vatican's always been lined up with, you know, it's almost like the way the America was founded. Yeah, it was founded because, you know, freedom of religion, but it was freedom for the Masons to do what they want and nobody noticed them, while telling you, well, you do what you want to, but don't pay attention to us.
I think that was a lot of the reasons for the Knights Templar and their mission. You know, a lot of.
No, I didn't yawn, Shawnee.
People can say that. You know,
that was Gabe. Gabe yawned.
On a quest.
Gabe sitting next to me.
For the Holy Grail, you know, whatever it was that it was under the guise of. But millions of people over the centuries have been killed in the name of the Catholic Church.
Oh yeah, tons.
I just pulled up. I said, I just asked Google, how many people have been killed in the name of Christianity? And it said some sources have put the number around 700 million people.
Wow.
And this is, you know, they've wanted to stifle other religions.
700 million people. Wow.
They wanted to, you know, pretty much be the dominant force when it
comes to yawning zone. Gabe, it's a no yawning zone.
By design.
Sorry.
You know, that number is very conservative as well, because you factor in over the course of, you know, a couple thousand years, you're in the trillions. I mean, so many believers have passed away at the hands of this organization and their offsprings. It's not even funny. We have to just understand that I firmly believe that they are the beast system, and they're going to be the one to cause the persecution of the saints.
Oh, stop it.
And we're going to get into it in a little bit, but if you go into the writings of Malachi, he even says that the last, he names the last pope as the false prophet. We're going to get into that because I know John's.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah. So what is? Let's just ask. What is? Let's see which one we want to do here first. Let's start with the pope.
Wow.
Let's start with the head of the pope. The pope is said to be the vicar of Christ. The vicar of Christ is a title of the pope implying his supreme and universal primacy both of honor and jurisdiction over the Church of Christ. It is founded in the words of the divine shepherd to St. Peter. And there we go with St. Peter. Who knows what patron, what saint that, or what pagan god he took over. But basically it says that the Pope is Christ on earth, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one that he can forgive sins and bring people out of purgatory into heaven. He's the one that can heal. He can do pretty much anything that Jesus Christ did when he walked the earth.
Okay. So I guess we can all agree that the fact that the Catholic Church has put itself as the kingdom of God on earth, right?
Yeah, and I wish I didn't pay attention much when I went to catechism class, but that seemed to be the gist of it. I mean, I remember like having these little Catholic books, probably were from either the 50s or the 60s, that I was handed to because until I was about 12 or 13, I didn't know any. I didn't go. But I was kind of forced to go. In other words, to Catholic Church. So I was handed this book, and it had all the prayers in there: Apostles' Creed, Nicene Creed, all the little Glory Bees, Hail Marys, whatever. Anyhow, I remember like all the pictures. It would explain to you.
Maybe Putin's not doing a drill, and the Americans know it. Hence October the 4th.
And it wasn't a Bible. It would explain to you like straight from the Catholic League or whatever. And then it would tell you, well, the Pope can do this. Yeah. It would never say Jesus. And I'm thinking, well, you talk about this guy, Jesus, but then this book don't say nothing about him, but it shows him and he looks like he has blonde hair and blue eyes. And I'm like, and I always knew that was something was odd about that. Yeah, something was odd about that.
Yeah. And,
but yeah, so I'm just trying to remember where they got, these different, I mean, there's steps and everything has like 500 paragraphs to each step that you do.
When you were in the Catholic school system, they had already converted from the Latin masses, right?
I would think, yeah. The Latin.
Because I think I'm the last generation. I think I'm the last of the. When I was in the Catholic school system, they had just started coming out of the totally Latin. So the masses that I went were half Latin and half English. So the books changed about that time, and the prayers went into English and everything. And I know exactly the books you're talking about.
Yeah, there were they belonged to a family member but my grandmother kept them, and she was like, okay, because I kind of I got fast tracked per se, because obviously they want you to be baptized as a baby, but I got baptized, when I was 13, did first communion, did all that stuff.
Oh yeah, you had to have your baptism and first communion. Your what is the other one? Oh, I forgot. There's one more. Baptism, first communion, and then
I can't think of that other one.
Yeah, I can't.
Oh, confession. You got a confession.
Confirmation.
Oh yeah,
Dave just said.
Confession. Yeah, all that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then you get older and go into the confirmed. When you get in the high school.
Confirmation. That's right.
Yeah, confirmation. Yeah.
Confirmation. Yeah. So the baptism when you're a baby, then you have your first communion when you're 8 years old or something like that. Then you're confirmed. When you're older. So you had to been fast tracked. You had to do all those 3 at once, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, it was fast tracked, and then it's like that's weird because it's like, okay, unless you do this, and Jesus ain't gonna even mess with you, ain't gonna talk to you.
You know, it's crazy because when we have to go to a funeral or something, or to a wedding, you know, most of the funerals that we go to here in Chicago, they're in the Catholic churches, you know, the Polish Catholic churches or the Orthodox. And even though I haven't been to a quote unquote mass in decades, when it comes time to recite those prayers, I know I'm like that.
Isn't it weird?
And it is. It's like,
I
wow,
can
where
remember them too.
did that come from? I haven't said that in decades.
Well, you know, it's almost like it's so repetitive. I could almost say what the priest said when you're about to get communion. You know, it's like,
yeah,
some would sing some of the verses and some wouldn't. And then I thought of something. I just lost my train of thought with that, which you had said something reminded me. But I'm about to think about that. But yes, the whole thing with the funeral, like it used to be, the priest used to say, because I went to a funeral some years back that was way after, because really Catholicism turned me atheist. It drove me so far away, I just went off the deep end and was like, Jesus ain't real. But I went to a funeral, and after I converted, of course, and I'm like, well, let me see how it is now. Let me see if I remember this. But it used to be,
that's right, Diane.
Be with you, you know, through Jesus, and then
that's right, Diane. They already know who we are. If they're going to come for us, nothing's going to change it.
They change it now to in the atonement of the body of the priest. The priest says that, and the atonement of the body of me is what the guy said. And I was like, oh wow, they're like totally, you know, because my grandmother's always like, go talk to Father. Go talk to Father if you want to know something. Go talk to Father. She meant the priest, and so that's how I grew up knowing that. Like there was no Father in heaven. The Father is that he has a little office in the church. So you go
exactly.
Talk to him.
He's the one that listens to our confessions and tells us how many Hail Marys and
yeah, exactly.
Our Fathers. Yeah, when you were talking about the repetition, it reminds me of this verse in the Bible, Matthew chapter 6, verse 7. It says, "But when ye pray, use not vain repetitions, as the heathens do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking." And that's exactly what happens in the Catholic churches. It's repetitive. It's the same thing over and over. You know, and I can remember the drawl, like, you know, peace unto you, and also with, you know, and you've got the whole congregation with no emphasis in their voice, and also with you. You know, and you're like, wow, you guys are, you know, it always just gave me this creepy vibe.
Yeah, all monotone.
Exactly. So I wanted to bring this up because the Vatican. So let's talk a little bit about the Pope, and let's talk a little about the Vatican. Anybody know what the word Vatican means? It's up on the screen. It means the divining serpent. The word Vatican literally means divining serpent and is derived from vatus, diviner, and con, serpent. Vatican City and St. Peter's Basilica were built on the ancient pagan site called the Latin Vacanicus Mons or Vacanicus Colus, which means hill or mountain of prophecy.
Yeah, wow, mountain of prophecy. That's
built
heavy.
Above God, exactly.
It's always planned out. Well, you know, they knew the sites because it was probably lined up with the tower when the comets were together.
And you know, they also know their ley lines and everything.
Yeah, it was definitely all with that when it was Pangea.
Exactly. Let me get.
They know where to build at.
Here's here is one of the halls on the top picture. I don't know if you guys can see it. Here's one of the halls that's actually at the Vatican, and you can see it's shaped as a serpent. This here was Pope Francis was giving a speech, and you can see the picture is clearly serpent devouring cross.
Wow, yeah. Wow.
And
do you have a picture of that angel of the whirlwind that the Pope sits in front of? They say it's Jesus, but I mean that.
Yeah, let me grab it. I was trying to
I
find
don't
it.
believe that's him.
I don't know. Yeah, let me grab it real quick. That's in the well, it's called the Resurrection.
Looks like he's coming out of
Let me
hell.
grab it real quick. Let me find it. I can. Yep, that's what it's called. Okay. I'm gonna give it to you, Ernie. Can you pop it in here for me?
Sure can.
Thank you, dear. There you go. You just pop it in there. I'm not sure what my computer's going to be capable of tonight. I don't want to replay of last week. I really like to stay for the whole show. It's kind of like, my thing. Kind of like to stay.
Alrighty, I am downloading it, so bear with me here.
And the Vatican there's a church in between when Timothy Alberino and that Leo Zargami guy, they went to the order of they went to the Jesuit part of the Vatican, and there's a church in the middle that's not accessible from the outside. It's in between. That Leo Zargami guy was pointing at it like they, the Jesuits came outside and were like, "Get out of here! Don't film."
Oh, we're going to talk about them and those. Is this the picture you're talking about?
That's it. Oh yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, this is called the Resurrection. This is actually this is in the throne room of the Vatican, and I don't know about you guys, but that is not my Jesus behind him.
I don't think a resurrection would look anything like that. I think it was easy peasy. There he is. He did it. Radioactive event. Not that. That looks like Angel in the Whirlwind kind of stuff. They love that stuff.
Yeah. That's crazy, isn't it?
It reminds me of the movie Constantine.
Or that too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when he was in hell and he was trying to get out and he hit himself in the chest with holy water and the demons were trying to pull him back down.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
What movie was that?
Constantine.
Oh, wow.
Constantine's I believe, a comic book character.
Yep. Yep. And Keanu Reeves portrayed him in the movie.
Looks like Biden.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie, Lord. It's
I'll have to watch it.
It's interesting.
I'm going to put up something. So during Vatican II, does anybody here know what Vatican II was? The revamping of the church, Vatican II?
In the
What year did that
60s?
take place?
1972 or 1974. I'm not sure which year. Well, it was in the 70s.
I remember something like that because of Malachi Martin's book of Windswept House.
Yeah. Well, the Vatican II was completely and utterly just a demonic event that took place. It was a revamping of the Catholic Church beyond anything. Probably things hadn't been changed as much as it did when they accepted the pagan gods as patron saints, okay? And during that time, Pope Paul the Sixth made a statement, and he said, "Through some crack, the smoke of Satan has entered the Church of God."
Yeah,
He said this.
yeah, that's exactly it. Malachi said that they had a mass, I think, in somewhere in South Carolina. At the same time, they had a black mass in South Carolina, and it was on the same ley line as the Vatican. They had a black mass at the Vatican, in that little church in between the two buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Malachi said introduced what this guy's saying. Like that's when it all started in the 60s.
Wow.
How can you deny the fact that your own Pope is telling you this? Your own Pope is telling you that Satan has entered into the church. Malachi also said that we would have two popes, and believe it or not, right up until recently, we had two popes. When Pope Benedict did not die, he resigned. First time, I think, since the 1100s.
Yeah.
Usually a pope for life.
Do you know what the significance of that is? Because I've
Of
seen
what?
quite a few theories involving his resignation.
Yeah, I do know why he resigned.
Boy.
He resigned
you might-
because there was a charge brought against him through the court in Geneva, through Brussels, and he was found guilty along with the Queen of England, along with the Prime Minister.
Oh,
of,
that's true, that
Britain.
court.
Him and many other world leaders were found guilty of crimes against humanity, child trafficking, and child sacrifice. That is when the ninth circle cult was brought to light. We found out about that. And he resigned because he was guilty of sin, basically. And he resigned. But the reason why none of those warrants that were issued for those people were ever able to be served was because the Queen lives in sovereign land, the Pope lives on sovereign land, and whenever the Pope travels, whatever ground he's standing on is sovereign. So you can never serve those trust warrants. Same with the Queen. Same with anybody in the royal family. Whatever piece of land they're standing on at that moment is sovereign. They're untouchable. These people are untouchable.
Right. And majority of the world, the land is actually under the crown too. So we got to factor that in as well.
Yeah.
Including the United States.
Kevin Annett was the one that brought the charges against them in Brussels to the ICC, the International Court of Crimes, and so that's why Benedict stepped down. Let's.
Yeah, they are a very, very corrupt organization, and I like to coin the term the very first corporation. Because if you look at that, the structure of the Catholic Church in this hierarchy, it completely resembles your typical corporation that you see today. And they're a living, breathing organization, which means no matter who's the head, if they pass away, it continues to move on. And the corporation runs the same way. It can run by itself, and how it's governed, how it's takes control over other smaller companies and other, like the Catholic Church. They do that with smaller religions as well. They take over that. We've seen that throughout history, as far as their influence on other religions too, just completely taken over. So regardless of what people think, that the Catholic Church has their influence on every single religion in this world, including the quote unquote Christian religions.
That's right. That's right. Somebody said the Vatican II was in the 60s. But here it says June 29th, 1972.
Well, that's
Paul
cool, Shawnee.
VI has a clear impression that there is something deep and negative that is increasingly afflicting the church. The path towards secularization and the lack of internal unity are becoming two great problems for the church throughout the world. And so this is when he wrote about the smoke of Satan has entered the church. It was June 29th, 1972 was when he wrote it. Give you guys a date on that. So let's go to...
There's more Big Brother, Diane.
I did that one. Now get out of there. Let's go to the secrets of the Vatican, shall we?
Absolutely. I've been waiting for this the entire broadcast, so hope you folks are ready too.
Dark secrets of the Vatican. Number one, the chief exorcist of the Vatican performs 100,000 plus exorcisms. Although exorcism is believed to be a practice only seen in horror movies and in the Middle Ages, the practice continues to be alive in the Catholic Church. Father Gabriel Amott is the last priest and is a late priest and served as the chief exorcist of the Vatican. He served for 60 years and is believed to have performed approximately 160,000 exorcisms. The exorcism rite, however, is not just limited to the late chief exorcist. It's been performed by various popes over the years. In 2018, BBC reported that the Vatican welcomed 250 priests from across the world to an annual workshop. Back in 2013 and 14, no, 12 and 13, the Catholic Church was adding quite a few thousand priests that were able to perform exorcism because they said that there was going to be an uptick in demonic possession worldwide. You guys remember that?
Yes. That's like one of those things. The Vatican, are they getting something from those so-called exorcisms? Are they going to help the people who may or may not have that? Or are they going to investigate any kind of dimensional rift that these things came through?
Right.
Good point.
Because I mean, to me, they're always like,
good question.
They're not going for because let's go save the day. I think they're going to see let's see if some kind of portal or Stargate was used, or
that was me that time.
Something close to these people, or where is it at?
Well, what's interesting is the timing of the hiring of these priests, these extra exorcists. It was right after CERN had started, and it had been reported about the portals.
Yeah. I've only.
Yeah, that was me that time, Shawnee.
I've definitely seen nothing like movie-like, but somebody who I would think definitely had a spirit of a giant with them. But have y'all ever come across somebody who's like contortioning like a snake or anything that's really weird shit. Don't excuse my language. That's really weird stuff.
No, that's why I stay in my house. I don't go to public places very often because I don't want to see that shit. But thank you.
My friend Demon Eraser is the exorcist. Says he'll see that all the time. The spirit of Kundalini. You heard about the Kundalini awakening?
Kundalini spirit, absolutely. People are when they perform yoga.
What is that? Hero?
Yeah, when they open up, I guess when they open up their chakras, there's this spirit called Kundalini. That's a serpent spirit. And when people when you try to exercise the Kundalini spirit, people will start twisting and turning and contorting on the ground.
Oh, okay, that's what that is. Because I years ago I worked with a guy who told me, he goes, "Well, you come over here, and I'll show you people who have the serpent." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know the name of that," but they told me they're like, this person contortion moves like a snake, and I'm like, kind of like
Shawnee, that Kenneth Copeland when he does. Where he makes all his flock laugh and all that. That's the Kundalini spirit, apparently, because it makes you go a bit crazy when it first comes out.
You're thinking, are they doing the worm dance? He goes, no. They are physically moving like they have ligaments and not a skeleton.
Well, the Kundalini spirit wraps itself around the spinal cord.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's something. Okay, that's interesting because I heard that, never really thought about it. Did you say open up a chocolate?
Chakra.
Oh, a chocolate.
Watch that
Big
chocolate.
John's hungry.
Yeah, it's a different type of chocolate, though.
Chocolate with that kind of name or something? I swear I've seen a chocolate with that name on there. 2 L's and an I. Is there?
I don't know.
What? I've seen it before. I don't think it's that name, but to me it sounds like that. That's all I was like, really? That chocolate bar?
No, the chakras.
The chakra, okay. Well, so what about the yoga deal? Now I've never looked into that. So this thing comes from the yoga deal?
Yeah, it's because when you are opening your mind and your spirit in doing yoga, you are putting your body, you're contorting your body into these serpent and into these animal positions. And that opens your body up for, it opens up the doors.
Oh, okay.
To let these spirits come in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're doing your own self-divination.
Right.
Oh, okay. We got in Demon Eraser, that guy's pretty, he's sharp on that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get a lot of New Age people. They're like, don't go against yoga. There's nothing wrong with yoga. All right. Listen, next time you go to your yoga class, listen to the positions that you're going into. You
Well,
know?
yoga's almost
And
like
why do you think
a modern
Shiva?
day version.
What's
Yoga's basically a modern day version of ritualistic dancing, like how the Indians used to, or the Native Americans used to do like specific dances for the rain god to bring rain and stuff like that, or like how people would do specific ritualistic dances for the god Kali, or the god of destruction, the Hindu god of destruction. Yoga is basically just that, but in like a slowed down version.
Correct.
Well, you got to look at this. Why does CERN have the Shiva as one of their main statues in their facilities? And why did they have that? Why did they have that ceremony in the Goddard Tunnel with all these people dancing and doing all sorts of yoga dancing?
Yep.
Lori, are you able to pull up an image of the Kundalini chakra, so people know like exactly what we're talking about? Because usually they'll go from the root chakra all the way up to the crown chakra, and they'll have like a serpent like twisting its body all the way around the different chakra colors.
Yeah, give me a second.
I don't remember all the chakras, but I know the lowest one is the root chakra, which is red, and the top is the crown chakra, which is a violet color, or like a purple.
Yeah, hold on. There's a couple things. Hold on a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, give me just a second.
That's why the Hindus, Indians wear them dots on their forehead, because they represent the purple chakra that he was just talking about.
I'm actually on it too.
Okay.
Have you guys also heard that, and I can't remember what language it is, but the Vatican translates to House of Serpents? Like the name Vatican.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's what you put up there a while ago or something like that, right?
I think that's what yeah.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that.
Divine serpent or something like that.
Yeah, let me pull it back up here. Right here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there you go. Hold on a second. It's saying we've got too many images. Give me a second. I got to get rid of a couple. I got to delete some. Delete. It only gives us 100. Okay, let's do this again. Here we go. All right. So this is what you're talking about here.
Yep.
Yeah. There's also one that has like the Kundalini going around it.
Okay, well,
The spirit of Kundalini. But that's the chakras. And they talk about that a lot in like Hinduism and yoga, Buddhism, things like that.
there's one that I wanted to pull up, but it wouldn't let me save it. Let's do this one.
But yeah,
I have one too.
If I remember correctly, they want you to like on each level, you're supposed to level up to get to the crown chakra to reach like full enlightenment and reach I don't know if it's nirvana or something like that. I don't know. I haven't really looked into this for a very long time. But yeah, you have to align all your chakras to basically reach like enlightenment, like full.
Oh yeah, that's what they talk about. That's the Freemason thing. They're like the Christ secretions in your spine, and it lines. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, it's literally all the same crap over and over, just told in a different way, basically.
The Christ fluid. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
I got one. Oh my Lord in heaven! Hold on a minute. Delete.
I'm sorry, Lori. I'm helping you out here.
Oh, I know you are. No, don't worry about it. I've got to remind me. I've got to clean this out.
If I sat like that, I'd have a leg cramp like you would believe. I can't do that.
Yeah, my feet will be falling asleep. I'll bust a hip.
Right. Hey, wake up, and you can't. It's limp drag.
There ain't no way. My hamstring would tighten up. I couldn't get out of that.
Exactly.
I'm staying in that position. Well, Lori, if you want to take a look at this too, I wanted to bring this up too because it has a very interesting image that's very familiar to many of us as far as like what it depicts. 1 second here.
Might have to delete another one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna, while you do, I'm just gonna delete. That way, if we have to add anything in there, I'm just gonna delete.
Check this out. What does this look like to you?
Oh, that looks like the medical.
Yeah,
it does too.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm trying to see this here now. What is that? What do they call the butthole? Because that's got to do something. You know how they are with that. You know what? So what's down there? What is that called? I can't see.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Pretty much.
It's the chakra coccyx of the spine, the base of the spine.
Oh, okay. I know, like chakra. It has something to do with, that's why they like the sodomy. It's got something to do with it.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole nother show. That
The
one.
mouth, the mouth of Satan, or whatever.
Yep. I usually put up a
known
post
for like
once a year
like
about that.
What's that, Hero?
The red root pepper is known for like lust and things of that nature. It's like the lowest level, basically. But I don't know what's above that off the top of my head.
And how those snakes, that as it going up the spine, it leads to the third eye. That is something that I find completely demonic. Like, I mean, that's what Satan's going for.
Yeah.
Well, because that's in the front, and that's the part that helps you have free will, or the decision to believe and worship if you choose it, is the front of the brain. Because Bill Gates wanted to take away your free will.
Absolutely.
If you remove part of the front of your brain.
Right.
That was an army. That actually was like almost like an army experiment.
Well, wasn't that a form of treating psychiatry back in the 40s, having frontal lobotomies?
Yeah, that's right. But it was really taking away your choice of any kind of religious thought.
Well, jeez, wow. Interesting. All right, so one of the next secrets of the Vatican is the Vatican helped Nazi war criminals escape the Allied forces. The Vatican funded Operation Paperclip.
Oh, yes, big time. Well, the Pope at the time was friends with Hitler. I can't remember. They were seen. They had a picture together. Whichever Pope it was at the time.
It was a Pope Pius.
Not sure. Let's see.
Whatever one was Pope during the 1944, there was a picture with Hitler. They were buddies.
Well, let's just do Pope with Hitler. Let's see what it pulls up. There's a lot of them.
And when the Allies bombed Germany, they mainly bombed Protestant counties. They didn't hardly touch the Catholic counties. The Allies bombed all the Protestant counties in Germany, whether they have states or counties, whichever way they do it. Where the most destruction happened was at Protestant lands. True story.
Pope who stood up to Hitler. No, that's not the one. Pope with Hitler.
Pius VI, I think it was.
Because that's a theory that they say that the church was telling Hitler to go out.
If I'm
I have a question. Now, I've read, and I want to know if it's true, speaking of this topic here. Now, was Hitler funded by the Vatican as well?
Very possible.
And let me read this. It says, after the victory of the Allied forces in Germany to end World War II, the Nazis were forced to seek refuge outside of Europe. Thousands of Nazis managed to escape to South American countries, specifically Argentina, Chile, and Brazil. Harvard researcher Gerald Steinacher wrote a book that shows travel documents pointing to the Vatican having helped the Nazis travel to these countries. Steinacher argues that it was done with the hope of reviving European Christianity and fear of the growing influence of the Soviet Union. The Vatican, however, has refused to comment on these claims. But it goes more. The Vatican made money from the Holocaust. It says, in addition to aiding the escape of thousands of Nazis from Europe, the Vatican was also involved in helping smuggle Nazis, looted art, golf, and other properties belonging to Jewish families. Gerald Posner, an American journalist, says that Bernardino Nogara, financial advisor to the Vatican, is believed to have been one of the Nazi spies. He is believed to have instituted a horrifying scheme to allow the Vatican to invest money in Italian insurance companies that kept the assets from the life insurance plans of the murdered Jewish families. Since the Vatican was an investor and not a direct insurer, they did not need to return any of the money made using scheme.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of the probably 15,000 things that they could have done. Now here's another good point, that when the Nazis went down Antarctica in 1933, before they started doing anything, causing trouble, they went down to New Schwabenland. But who was part of that?
Mm-hmm.
The Vatican.
Mm-hmm.
And if they did find the hollow earth, or the paradise underneath the ice, then the Vatican would have been involved the entire time, because they were down there too, talking to the king of the earth, whoever Admiral Byrd ran into.
It just seems weird that if the Vatican's not involved, then the Smithsonian is.
Well, yeah, too. That's too. Well, it's like the Vatican took care of, Europe and anywhere around there that they could, because they were there obviously before the Smithsonian with the Spanish Inquisition, and then they just set up. I think they set up the Smithsonian in North America because they learned from. It's just a timeline matches. They learned from the Incans that, okay, north of us is the land of the plumed serpent, a Marahuka, and then all of a sudden you have the Smithsonian set up out of nowhere based on this notion that, we need to preserve history and tell everybody about the future, which is, that's obviously what they did, but they set it up only in North America. So, we have their own, they have their own, high history kind of thing going.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it true that the Vatican has to okay all mainstream religions before they can be considered a true religion?
I imagine somewhat that in the back channels, but everything's based off of the Catholic Church. I mean, it all has the same little details. You know what I mean? It's not totally the same, but there's lots of things that show you that it all branched off the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Baptist, Pentecost, all that stuff.
Now, hopefully somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a long time since I actually studied the correlation between the two. But isn't the Catholic Church's biblical, or quote unquote biblical doctrine, is based off of Egyptian ideology and principles too?
Yeah, I mean, it is Egyptian. See, here's the thing. Now, when you get technically, who was the liaison even when Peter was actually there in Rome? Cumae Sybil, the oracle, the same lady whose prophecies on the dollar bill. She was in the church. She was a liaison to the church and had many meetings with Peter. And her prophecy on the dollar bill about the return of Jupiter and the golden age of man, Nephilim, blah, blah, blah. But where does she get her stuff from? From Egypt. So Catholicism is from the Egyptians, which is the Anunnaki, not what we know. And I've said this a million times. The original Egyptians, the ones that, they're just fooling you with these people who assimilated, Cleopatra and all them. They just assimilated into a culture. The real Egyptians are the Nephilim. And other mystery schools, that's where it comes from. They're the only ones who had to bring the secrets from Mars and Rahab, and they had the mystery schools in Egypt and in Sidon, Phoenicia, Canaanites, Phoenicians.
I've never heard of him, Shawnee.
Right now, the poster of the mystery religions, the mystery schools, the mystery.
Yeah, exactly. So they have all that, everything that was learned from Pythagoras, Freemasonry, whoever was there, being taught by these Nephilim.
And that's why I said, I think that, when we hear about the, what are they called? When we hear about, trying to think, what are the people that went around trying to get trying to find the Grail?
The Templars.
When we hear about the Knights Templars and how they traveled around the world and they were trying to find, the Holy Grail, they are the collectors of everything in antiquity. Like they have everything. Like the Vatican is, if you were going to, if I was going to bet, if I was a betting person, I would probably bet that if the what is it called? I'm sorry guys, I'm having a bad night. What is the thing that Moses had?
Ark of the Covenant.
Ark of the Covenant, thank you. If the Ark of the Covenant was going to be anywhere on earth, it would be in the Vatican or the Smithsonian. One of the two places.
Well, the problem with that is when God had that hidden and protected, so no man can touch it, right? So how can the Vatican move that thing?
Well, the Bible also said that whenever someone who wasn't of like the Israelites or something like that had it, they basically be cursed and all this bad stuff would happen to them.
Well, yeah, they would immediately die.
Well, Moses had a whole second set of tablets that's what they're worried about. They don't care about the Ark of the Covenant.
Right. The second the tablets is
whatever, when he came down, the ones he didn't crack, that's the ones they got or are after. That's the ones they care. Like I said, when they would pass up tablets, that would literally blow your mind and like really expose a lot of things. When that's left on the ground to go get some mummies, you know what I mean? That's how I think of it now. It's like, no, when they say Moses had something else, that's what they're after. They don't care about no Ten Commandments, or you know what I mean? They don't care about Ark of the Covenant. They want the good stuff, and that's how I think of it. That's because I've seen it happen. So that's how I see it now, you know, in my opinion.
Right. Ernie, you had mentioned something about making money off of Hitler. What was that? Was it your statement that you said?
I was wondering if the Catholic Church actually financed the Nazi party and Hitler during those times.
Well, it says the most controversial if they're dealing with Hitler. Gerald Posner, a historian, points out that the Vatican received a church tax from Hitler every year.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. A book named His Holiness was released in 2012, which based on the leaked secret papers of Pope Benedict. The private documents were leaked by Benedict the 16th's own butler to the author. I'm not even going to pronounce his name. His last name's Nuzzi. After reviewing these documents, an internal investigation was held. The investigation revealed that individuals who were not from the Vatican were blackmailing gay bishops since they had broken their celibacy vows. Pope Benedict went on to resign from his papacy in 2013 due to this scandal. That also stems from the charges brought up in Brussels. Hold on just a second. What else? The Apostolic Penitentiary. Anybody know about this? I've never heard of this. This is new for me reading this to you guys too. So, the Apostolic Penitentiary is a secret tribunal that investigates so-called heinous crimes of individuals. It was supposedly founded in 1179 and was kept secret until 2009. Only the Pope can grant absolution to people brought into this tribunal. Examples of sin included attempting to assassinate the Pope, a priest exposing the sin or identity of a person who has confessed to them, and so on. The Pope acts as the head of this tribunal and is called the Major Penitentiary and can either offer absolution or let the automatic excommunication stand.
Okay, it's clear enough.
So
We're going to fix the
interesting
camera,
how
guys.
they've had so much power over the course of history, and how they still do and get away with it. You know, they are in control of us more than many of us know, and that's the issue. And you know, I'm the type of person where if you're gonna do something to me, just do it in front of my face. Don't do it in the background.
Right.
Because that makes you a coward. But they doing this right behind the scenes, and like come out.
Anything done in secret is usually not on the up and up.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the conspiracy theories about the Vatican and its secret archive, shall we? Jesus does not exist. There are reports that the archives contain communication between Emperor Nero and St. Paul regarding the existence of Jesus. Some conspiracy theories believe the Vatican is hiding proof that Jesus Christ did not exist. Who? Nero. Nero was the original Antichrist, wasn't he?
Yeah. Persecuted
Yeah.
the Roman
Yeah,
Christians.
he definitely was viewed during those times as the Antichrist.
Right. Seems interesting that Nero and St. Paul regarding the existence of Jesus. Number 2, evidence of extraterrestrial life. Rumors suggest that the Vatican holds proof of the existence of extraterrestrial life in the form of extraterrestrial skulls. Some sources say that the archives contain proof that the Pope is conspiring extraterrestrial beings to implant everyone on Earth with computer chips. Kind of interesting, since we've got the whole Exo Vaticana Petro Romanus Project Lucifer and the Vatican's astonishing plan for the arrival of the alien savior and their little old Lucifer telescope. And that was what Tom Horn and Chris
Okay, I don't know where that played up.
Chris Putnam.
Chris Putnam, yeah. Chris Putnam and Tom Horn, their book.
They put so much in there, and they literally can name every Vatican astronomer or whatever. I mean, and all they're saying is how they're going to baptize, rewrite the gospel, because they know. And the Vatican had that. There was a Roswell incident in Italy in 1933. That's why I said at the same time that the Germans hauled ass down to Antarctica. But the Vatican has that spaceship, has a saucer that they recovered in 1933. Mussolini gave it to them.
Man, I would love to be a little fly and be able to get down into those archives. There's something like 37 miles of tunnels underneath the Vatican that contain all kinds of secrets.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I can't wait for the time, and hopefully it'll be.
Geez, that's pretty blasphemous, Susan, that Moses been Akhenaten.
Lives where all this stuff gets exposed. I mean, even if the son of perdition comes on the scene to quote, be as our savior and expose everything that goes on behind the scene, I'm just interested to know what are they hiding from us, and I know there's so much truth that they're holding, especially the truth of Jesus' existence, the Noah's Ark, all the things that happened in biblical times. I'm almost positive that they have.
With all the Babylonian blindness, like Daniel talked about, that's gonna, like remember I said Paul said there'll be an exposure of knowledge and you will know, but Daniel says that you'll see it, but then the blindness is so bad from where your surroundings, you won't even care. And I don't even think that they kind of reveal a few little things in there, but I think honestly, if they reveal they had like a little alien with little chains on him that they captured or whatever, Nephilim, whatever. If they brought it out on the White House lawn, people would be like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." And last, and then they'll be like, "Oh, Taylor Swift is dating somebody." Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Yeah, nobody cares.
Nobody cares about that. You can have a damn Nephilim eating people on the White House lawn. They'll be like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." Then they'll be like, "Oh, whatever."
That's true.
But you know what? That's kind of the way civilization is, the way society is right now. Is that we've just come to the point where nothing shocks us anymore, and nothing really gives a rise out of us because it desensitized us to basically everything.
Easily.
Here's talking about number 3 is the 3 secrets of Fatima. Controversial first 3 secrets of Fatima is believed to be the secret document hidden within the archives. In 1917, 3 children from Portugal received prophecies, one of which is witnessed by thousands of people. The supposed suppression of this 3rd secret fueled rumors that the contents were regarding nuclear holocaust, natural disaster, and so on. The release of the contents of the secret in 2000 did not do much to quell speculation. I don't remember it being released in 2000. Does anybody else?
No. you can look, but the third secret, when it was released, said that Russia will be used by God to like wrangle in, wrangle things back to normal when Russia unleashes, nuclear weapons on people.
Huh.
That was the third secret.
Interesting.
As soon as when Marzulli went over there and he came out with that he showed like literal proof that it wasn't any apparition of Virgin Mary, it was a female entity, but there was a silver disc behind her. And then that's when all of a sudden Marzulli starts getting attacked, house catch on fire, all this, destroyed with the Santa Monica Hills fires and all that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, he got attacked big time right after that.
But he proved that it was a silver disc being seen. Eyewitnesses said that. And there was an apparition of a female, like a serpent female, with the silver disc that blocked the sun, which she was riding in.
It's funny that all of these Marian apparitions happen on ley lines as well.
Oh, I never knew that. Wow.
October 13th is the anniversary of the Fatima miracle. Didn't know that. Interesting. Yeah.
Susan, my brother's in Egypt right now with his wife. They've been there for 2 weeks.
The final secret. I can remember back in the 70s. There was a thing that my mom belonged to. It was called the Marian Army, and it had to do with the secrets of Fatima. I can't remember what it was, but it was.
Yeah.
It was. Everybody would pray their rosary.
Yeah, Susan, I don't think they've released a third one either. I don't think they have at all. They released bullshit stuff, but I don't think it was legit.
Used at a certain time, and they would all pray for
that rosary. I have flashbacks of the rosary.
Because it had the Pope as a good guy at the end still, even though he got beat.
Oh, you and me both, yeah.
When me and my cousins were being bad, and my grandmother's 1995 Lincoln Town car, she put in the rosary tape, and I it's not good. We had to listen to the rosary until we all calmed down, and she pushed eject.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, again, when you've got scripture telling us not to do something in repetition, and yet, here you are, and it's nothing but repetition. Vatican is home of the largest collection of pornography. Now, there's a shocker. Some conspiracy theorists believe the Vatican archives contain the largest collection of pornography in the world. Copenhagen's Museum of Erotica confirms these speculations. In addition to writing by the National Review founder William Buckley Jr. and scholar Camilla Paglia. Yep.
Well, I do have something to say about that. It's because now it's like, with like David and Solomon stuff in the Psalms about concubines, and even Daniel describes it. People think that that's new, but any kind of what you would say, any kind of platform nowadays that women can get on and show themselves, that's nothing new about that. They had that a long time ago, literally in ancient times. If they had computers, hell, most likely, who knows? They had all kind of other stuff, but like posters or the old-fashioned way out there in the streets, like you go to Vegas and they're passing out cards. That stuff exists.
Yeah, Mary's dead. She appears to no one. You're right.
Because there's nothing new. Nothing new comes out of the earth.
Right.
There's nothing new under the sun. That applies to everything.
Right.
Including technology.
Right.
Yeah,
something we use today.
They have.
Yep.
There's been computers found and dug up, and so.
You know what? Imagine what the technology was back then.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Even when Abram walked out of Earth, I think he literally left an advanced city.
And you know what? That I firmly believe that the catacombs in the Vatican houses some of this technology.
Absolutely.
And you can call it ancient, but it's modern because we're using some of it today. We're not using all of it, Heaven forbid, if we have
Yeah.
access to all of that, what the world will be like.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure they have a lot of that stuff.
I'm pretty sure that the elite have access to it. Or
Absolutely.
there may be one or two people that have access to everything. Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they're living well past 100 years. We don't know really what their ages are.
Well,
Right.
yeah, and that's exactly it. Like nobody, I mean, that's like nobody really knows if you don't hear the news out of there, or I mean, everybody listens to the American media.
Yeah.
That American media can push, and nobody's ever heard of something that if they keep pushing, whatever headlines, Taylor Swift, whatever. Like, that's all I've been hearing about or seeing. But that's the only thing. There's nothing. There's literally the Black Sea Fleet headquarters for Russia was destroyed by Western missiles, and they're like, oh no, don't talk about that because we don't want nobody to know that we've already lost. Ukraine's lost, and now we're forced. NATO's forced to start going after these heavy Russian targets. There's begging Russia to launch a damn Sarmat missile over here. But nobody would even know. And nobody's going to know. I guess that's the whole thing. Like one day you wake up and they say New York City's parking lot.
Right.
So that's what they do. Unless you have any kind of alternative or who even really knows. Because think about the Civil War. Nobody over there in Tombstone, Arizona knew about a war until the veterans started showing up saying, yeah, we just had a war for 4 years or whatever. But nobody really knows what's going on. Who's to know that Ukraine in a parking lot right now? Nobody really knows.
We don't know. Yeah. That's the thing, when you have just a handful of people who control the media and control the narrative, you don't know. Wag the dog, perfect example.
Well, it always reminds me of, remember that movie? I think it was that guy's first movie called The Village, maybe? The guy who makes scary movies. And they lived out, like, you think they lived like out in the 1700s, and they had these monsters at the tree line. Like, all the kids would never go into the woods. These monsters
was that M. Night Shyamalan?
Him.
Yes.
And then they escape and then these cars are like passing, and they're like, "What the hell is that?" Because
M. Night Shyamalan. Yep.
That was perfect example of how Americans are.
Yep.
Those people go out there thinking you thought the entire time this is like the 1700s and it's modern day. They just never got to escape their society. They don't know what the hell a car is.
Yep.
That was like perfect example. I'm thinking that's it. Nobody knows what goes on if you're kept in with fear.
Exactly. 100%. Absolutely. There's another one that says they are controlled by the Illuminati. Some people believe that despite their dissolution in the Middle Ages, the Illuminati has solely built itself up with its members placed in some of the most powerful positions across the world. One such powerful office is the Vatican, where many of its prominent members are believed to be part of the Illuminati. Yeah, it's Pope Francis is a Jesuit. And the Jesuits are, let me pull up our little picture.
Yeah, let's see that hierarchy.
Oh, okay.
Because that is completely backwards.
What's backwards?
The Vatican is controlled by the Illuminati. Isn't it the other way around? Just because of the hierarchy of the people structure.
Okay, so here's the thing. Everybody knows that when you talk about the Illuminati, immediately people start talking about the 13 families of the Illuminati. And we all know about, the writings.
Susan, there was also a Marian appearance in one of the, I think it was Croatia or Serbia, one of the ex-Yugoslavian countries. There was a Marian apparition that was there for a few weeks.
Fritz Springmeier, and he did that great breakdown of it. But all they are is the face. They are the public face. They are what is put out in the public, and they're the ones that people point the fingers to and say they're the ones in charge. But they're not. They're not in charge. If you look here, the 13 families lay right under the Pope, right under Mario, Jorge Mario. And that he's the white Pope. And again, the Pope. When you think of the Pope, you think of Pope Francis. You don't think of any other person. But there are two popes above him. There are the Black Pope, which is Arturo Sosa. He is the one who's in charge of the Jesuits, of the Army of Jesus. Nothing happens without that man's approval. When it comes to the banking system, when it comes to government, nothing happens without the white Pope, without Francis, Francis's okay. That happens when it comes to religion. But above them is a man called Pepe Orsini. And he is part of the can't pronounce it. Zolmaic. Actually, it's called the Zoroastrian bloodlines. And he's part of the Orsini family. He's part of the Maximus clan. He's above everybody else.
Yeah, Maximus.
And nothing on the planet happens. Now, the thing that makes him different, and you can't find a lot of information about him. I think there are actually 2 pictures of him that you can find on the internet. 2, that's it. The thing about him is he's not completely human. He is not human. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the Maximus families are from Mars.
Yeah, he's not human. He you don't see him often because he doesn't hold his shape very often. And then go, oh, Lori, she's lost her mind. No. This is why we don't see him very much. He is sitting right. He only answers to one person, and that's at the tippy top, and that is Lucifer, Satan, as Azael. That's who he answers to.
I also wanted to point out this. Notice in the orange in number 3, the Superior General of the Jesuits. He rules over both maritime law and UCC law.
Correct.
So he is in control of the law of the land and the law of the high seas. Those are the codes that standardize trade as well as commerce. Now, U.S. and the majority of the countries in the world abide by those 2 types of laws.
Yeah.
Now, it goes back to what I said earlier, that they are in control of pretty much everything that we have today, and have been since in time memorial. This is proof of the control that they have. So the Superior General, or the Black Pope, basically is the face of the whole world. He is the one that oversees everything. He's the one that handles all the laws and all the institutions.
But you don't see. But when you think Pope, when somebody says the Pope, who do you think of?
You think of Pope Francis.
Yes. Yeah. The same as when you talk about the 13 families of the Illuminati, you think of the 13 families. You think of, the Bundys, the Collins, the Astors, the DuPonts, the Rothschilds. You think of the Kennedys. You think of all of those people. You don't think about the 13 Zoroastrians. You don't think about the Breakspear. You don't think about the Orsini family, the Maximus family. You don't think about any of those families because not too many people know about those because they keep them hidden. They keep them hidden behind the other 13 families.
Yep.
Let's take this off here. Yep, that's right. Yeah, and the Orsini, well, actually, all 13 Zoroastrian families, all 13 of them can go back. They're the oldest families, and it's not letting me pull anything up on them. Hold on a minute. All right, let's go to this one. Try to get the names for you. Nope, won't let me go to that one. Let's go to this one. I'll get you the 13 families so you can really see more. Okay. Breakspear, Aldo Brandini Farnese, Somalia, The Jesuit Order, the Knights of Malta. Let's see. I'm trying to get the names of them. I don't want to read this whole thing. All I want is the list of names. Let's do this. Families.
So,
Yeah, go ahead and.
based off of that last name, now anybody that you meet that has that last name, since they're so like protected and kept in secret, will that be something that you should be concerned about? Let's say if you know somebody that has that last name.
You probably, if you meet somebody with that, here's the thing: is there's a lot of people out there that could have the same name as these people, but no, I take that back. There's not a lot of people out there that have the same last name as these people.
Come on.
If you've got the last name Rothschild, you are a Rothschild. If you have the last name Smith, chances are you're not related to any other Smith. But if you have one of these families that have one of these 13s, or it'd be actually 26 names, you are related to these families because of the fact that they interbreed. They keep the bloodline pure, and that way it doesn't branch out into other families. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Makes sense. Because I've grown up with some people with that last name.
What last name?
Orsini.
Orsini, really?
Yep.
Interesting. That is very interesting.
Then when we leave the broadcast, I have some information for you about that.
Ernie's Illuminati confirmed.
No.
No.
I got the light, or I got the light of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You know, the good light.
I'm gonna throw something in our chat. Oh, never mind. I closed down Facebook. Let me just throw this up here and I'll show you. I found it. Found what I was looking for. I just got to get it here. Here we go. Okay. So when you hear about the 13 families, immediately you're going to think about these: the Astors, the Bundys, the Collins, the DuPonts, the Freeman, the Kennedys, the Lee, the Onassis, the Reynolds, the Rockefeller, the Rothschilds, the Russells, and the Van Dyne. Now, when chances are, if you know somebody with that name, they're related to these families because, again, they keep them pure. They don't branch off. An Astor is an Astor. An Astor is an Astor is an Astor. But they're just the front men, the eye candy, you might say, of the Illuminati. These are the families that are really running the world.
Well, it's almost like Field and Dracula.
Right. The Borgia, the Breakspear, the Somaggia, the Orsini, the Conti, the Chigai, the Colonna, the Farnese, the Medici, the Gaetani, the Pamphili, and the Estes, and the what the heck?
Aldo Brandini.
Aldo Brandini. I don't know about you, but I don't know anybody with those last names. Right?
No. Unless they changed, because Rothschild's meant like what, Red Bear?
Red.
But it came from
Red Shield.
Red Shield. Yeah.
Yeah, Red Shield. Yeah, it came from Maximus. The Maximus bloodlines off of Mars. Literally, because they know the WEF guys, Klaus Schwab and them talk about Mars.
Oh yeah.
Because that's where they trace, their, Nimrod's.
It's funny that those individuals claim that there is no God, but yet they worship a deity.
They won't admit that, but they won't admit that the Most High God of Abraham is the one true God.
Yeah, they believe in him. They just don't acknowledge that. They hate him, but they know he exists because they know that he'll get them.
Well, that's what they're running from. That's what. That's why they form an allegiance with Satan, is because they know, but they have that ego, just like Nimrod did when he built the Tower of Babel, that he thinks that he can defeat God. He can. They have a plan in place, everybody, that at the second coming they are going to defeat Christ when he returns.
Yeah, they're good. They're going to try to blow him out of the sky.
The Pope's right in the climate change. I do know that.
Weapons. You know, there's what's that guy's name? Harari, the one who basically
Yuval.
Yeah, him.
Yeah.
Well, there's a video out when everybody's going after Russell Brand. There's a video of him and Harari, and Russell Brand's like hugging him and telling him how great he is, and I'm gonna come see you and your husband. I guess he has a husband that Harari got.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm just like, oh, well, that's they're right to the wall with that. But yeah, anyhow, Russell Brand's like hugging on this guy and telling him how great he is, and it's like, I'm
glad the light's finally being shown on Russell Brand, because I've been saying forever. You know, I'm not going to say nobody watch him, because he's a gatekeeper and he puts out information. He does put out truth. And I've said this, numerous times. There's certain people that we've all cut our teeth on in the truth movement and in uncovering conspiracies and stuff. People like AJ and Wilcox and David Icke, Russell Brand, those people. If you want to start out by letting them kind of wet your whistle and be like, kind of, light that spark underneath you, that's great. But once you get a feel of, the things that you should be looking into that aren't quite right in the world, get away from those people, because they're not going to lead you to any more truth than what they already did.
It's, here's the thing. The only person I think that was involved with direct Nephilim intervention and then turned on them was Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
I think if nobody ends up like him, I think you got something. Everybody who comes against or exposes any kind of child trafficking leaves the earth. So
absolutely.
People who expose it are still around, kind of like living a good life. I don't know. I think they're either told to do it or something. But anybody who really you expose them, you leave. And I think Tesla is, in my opinion, the person who actually had direct engagements with Nephilim, and he was like, "Nah, I'm not doing this anymore." And he started exposing stuff, and then they, took him out.
Well, there was a huge beef between him and Benjamin Franklin.
No, Edison.
Edison, yes, Thomas Edison. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me.
I've been like, Tesla's old, so I know you was Nephilim.
Yeah, I know what you were talking about. Yeah.
And we know. Maybe we should talk about him in one episode.
I would love to talk about Tesla.
I would like to talk about a lot of stuff, and then he went against it. I think he exposed the 369 method and talked about gestation and all these different things with the power of the earth. I think he exposed that, and I think because he was like, what you've taught me and what I thought I wanted to know from these damn ascending masters, I'm just not into it anymore. And I think they did.
Yeah,
it's terrible how
Thomas Edison took over.
It's funny because history books, when we were all in school, none of us heard about Tesla. All it was Edison this. And
exactly.
We didn't even hear about Tesla until we got to be adults and did research on our own. We didn't hear that in school. They didn't teach us.
Well, yeah, and you know what? So many people since his untimely death has recreated what he invented, and look what happened. And they end up
alive.
Exactly. There's a TikTok video of somebody who made an air-powered engine and a water-powered engine, got both of their vehicles confiscated by the federal government and returned with all the technology removed.
Have you all seen that kid, Dr. Parkenstein, that created the Tesla coil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy is something else, man. Like that's really neat what he does.
Yeah, he's really interesting. He's definitely on some sort of like spectrum or something. You could tell, because he just has like an interesting way of like speaking and like thinking. Dr. Parkenstein.
Dr. Parkinson. Is he on TikTok?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Oh, you kick at him. That kid's smart. Like I don't know, man.
Very smart.
He
shows you how he does it too.
I don't believe in reincarnation, but that kid, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, he showed a video of him as a kid, like drawing out like complex mathematics with chalk on the ground. Yeah, he was like till like 6 years old.
Yeah, I had sidewalk chalk figuring out, how to electricity flies through the air and all stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I found him.
I can't shut you up here. You're alone at a restaurant or something.
Built a coil in his backyard. Literally, when I first seen him, he kind of banned him real fast, but he has like coils made out of like Topo Chico water bottles. The guy's off the chain smart.
Yeah.
He powers his own home with that, right?
Something like that. He did do something to where he sent an electric signal 900 something miles.
Wow.
There's trees too that generate electricity.
I never knew that.
Oh, I've gone down the whole tree rabbit hole lately. And wow, trees. Put it this way: if you guys are vegetarians out there, you may want to rethink it, because the trees are just as smart as the animals are.
What are you supposed to eat?
I don't know, but
you're gonna eat bugs. And you're gonna like it.
I've gone down the plant rabbit hole, and wow. They send
it
out
has feelings and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, they send out frequencies to communicate with one another. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Now we've seen them move. We've seen them walk.
Yeah, those walking trees freak me out. Like, nope.
It reminds me of the Ents off the Lord of the Rings.
I'm done. Good gosh.
Or Groot.
Exactly. Well, we're coming up on quarter till, so we're gonna start with our closing remarks from everybody, and maybe decide what we're gonna do next week. You had an idea, Ernie, that we should probably talk about what's going on with the posturing with Russia, huh?
Well, yeah, that's one of the major pressing issues that we're facing right now, and from our discussion, and what John has mentioned here in this broadcast, a lot of things are escalating further. And as we look into October, there might need to be some things that we need to talk about to watch out for.
He hasn't shown up yet, Shawnee. He might not. Some days he doesn't show up. He usually does by now.
But
or he might know I went an hour earlier.
We can talk about that. We can talk about Nikola Tesla. I believe that is very interesting to learn more about him and some of the beef that he had with some of our U.S. government figures and his relation to the Trumps. So that is definitely something worth looking into. Maybe if not next week, on our future broadcast as well.
Yeah,
Tesla did have he had a big, huge impact on our on how we live today. But even though he pulled a lot of technology from stuff that was already in existence, but he was able to do it on his own.
I think it's interesting that the government, when they took all of his papers, and they took something like, I don't know, 30, 40 bins of papers out of his hotel room when he passed. And the government couldn't make hide nor hair of it. They didn't know what was going on. And they got Trump's uncle to come in and take a look at the papers.
Mm-hmm.
And when Trump's uncle returned the papers to the government, he only returned like a third of them, and he kept the rest.
Well, that's why Trump's a time traveler.
We should, yes. I do want to do this because I want to talk about that book.
And I wonder if that's true about time traveling, Because remember, there's a book about Baron Trump and his magic adventures or something. Baron Trump. It's literally Baron Trump. Something about time travel. And that's something to do with Trump's uncle, with Tesla's technology.
Written back in the 1800s, talking about Trump and Barron.
There you go. I just said what they're saying now. I'll take that back a bit.
You know, we should, yes. Why don't we, I do want to do this because I want to talk about that book written back in the 1800s talking about Trump and Barron.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So let's get closing thoughts about the Vatican and what we talked about tonight. Whoever wants to go first.
Go, Ernie.
I'm actually pulling up something. If you can, one of you two, I hear Hero's cats talking, so probably need to get to them.
Basically, what people need to understand is the Vatican has its hands in pretty much everything. I don't think there's a single world leader who doesn't have to go meet the Vatican before they're sworn in, if I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of tells you, like, this whole, for everything that's happening in our society is like somewhat controlled by them. You know what I mean? Like, they have their hands in everything. I'm not gonna say that they have 100% control, but their fingers are everywhere.
I'm gonna show you guys that, you know, this has got to be the creepiest image I think I've ever seen when it comes to what you just said. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Here it is. Well, you said that, you know, they all the world leaders have to meet the Pope.
Yeah.
Look at this. Are they going to a funeral or are they going to meet the Pope?
Wow.
And allegedly, isn't there like two other popes, the black and the brown pope? And those are like the more powerful popes.
The black and the gray Pope. Yes.
Oh, black and the gray pope.
Yeah, you dropped out for a little bit. We talked about them.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, my connection's been kind of iffy
Well,
recently.
I was going to say about the you just reminded me of something when you said that.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So look at how many times the Pope and the Patriarch Kirill from the Greek Orthodox Church has to, when they find out how many times you go to Antarctica a year.
Oh, Kirill went down there with an armada.
Yeah.
He went down there with a Russian armada after the earthquake uncovered the Ark of Gabriel in Mecca. And they took it down there with an armada, a Russian armada. Kirill went down there and performed some sort of ritual over it.
Where's the Ark of Gabriel?
They think it's a weapon, an ancient weapon. There he is.
Gabriel's fist or whatever. Yeah.
Is it like a biblical item?
No, it's not a biblical.
It's like an interchannel. We know what this thing could be, and it just kind of got out, and it may or may not be real. I mean, knowing they have technology from the fallen, it's probably something.
Something was uncovered. Something was uncovered during the earthquake in Mecca. And
that, and then when they go to Antarctica and they go visit, and like, here's the thing: I don't have one of those maps on my wall that like has a bunch of yarn connecting shit. But if you look at everything when the Nazis went down there, when they found out about the giants fleeing to the Western Hemisphere, when all these world leaders, especially the Pope and the Patriarch Kirill, when they show up all the time in Antarctica, I believe they're talking to exactly what Admiral Byrd, who he met, the king of the earth, the blonde hair, blue eyed, Lucifer in human form or whatever, talking to him down there.
There was some guy on TikTok who said that he astral projected to Antarctica, and he said the elites got kicked out of Antarctica, and they're going to use like Maui as their new like base of operations or something like that. But obviously, there's no way to know for certain because he claims that he saw it from astral projection. It's not like there's any specific documents or anything like that. Well, maybe there is, but
well, here's the thing too. There's I can't think of the name of them, but there are like giant legends out of Hawaii. Two people, two giants, or two whatever. that weren't native to Hawaii, but they're in, and I think their names are like some of the islands or something like that. I'm about to find this, but anyhow, when the Nazis went down Antarctica, they described underneath the ice to look just like Hawaii, literally the same landscape.
Interesting.
Russian army protect weird Ark of Gabriel headed to Antarctica. I got
There you
that. I got that one, and then where's Krill?
Oh, also too, Lori, when you showed the picture of Trump's meeting the Pope, do you remember when they gave that UN, Hugo Chavez gave that UN speech and said, "I saw the devil today," and they tried to say he was talking about George Bush, but the world leaders in 2006, when they went to that UN summit or whatever, they had to all go underneath the Vatican and they had to watch that damn fallen angel chained up down there eat a baby.
Oh.
And that's when Hugo Chavez said, "I saw the devil today."
Wow. Here's Russian Orthodox patriarch Kirill walking with penguins. Yep, that was his photo shoot. That was it says, not satisfied with one groundbreaking encounter this week, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church has followed his talks with Pope Francis by meeting a rookery of penguins in Antarctica. So he left, he spoke with Pope Francis and went right directly to where? Antarctica.
Yeah.
Remember what happened? Who was it? Buzz Aldrin, Lori?
Buzz
When he
Aldrin.
went down there?
Yeah.
He got sick too.
He got sick.
He got sick and he had to come back. Yeah.
He got
And he said there's great evil in Antarctica. That's what Buzz Aldrin said.
to Argentina. He was in a medically induced coma for a couple of days. Why was Kirill in Antarctica? He went with the Russian Armada to take the Ark of Gabriel to transport it there. So, yeah. All right. So next week, if let's leave it up in the air. Let's keep an eye on the news, and if things heat up with Russia, we'll do a show about that, and if not, then we'll do a show about Tesla.
All right, that sounds good.
That sounds good.
Yeah. I do have some scripture reading, if you don't mind. If everybody else
reading, and then we'll end it there.
All right. Now, everything that we discussed tonight revolves around the book of Revelations, chapter 17. And it completely describes the entity that we were referring to all night tonight. And once you realize what the Bible describes this entity to be, we for certain know it's related to the Catholic Church. And I want to read you some passages from Revelation 17. And there came out one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, when we're looking at the scarlet-colored beast, we notice in a lot of masses in the Catholic Church that they wear those types of colors. Moving on. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abomination and filthiness of her fornication. We notice the golden cup. A lot of the higher echelon in the Catholic Church has these golden cups. They wear precious stones and pearls. They're draped in scarlet and purple. And upon her forehead was name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw a woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Catholic Church is responsible for one of the biggest genocides in human history, with the mass murder of over 700 million Christians. And that's a conservative number. Now, when the reason why they did that is because they did not want to listen to the church anymore because they were speaking blasphemies against the Most High. They were forbidden to read the Bible. The Bible was only spoken of in Latin, so nobody could understand it during those times. And when Martin Luther got a hold of the true and living word of God, he rebelled against them. And that's when the military arm of the Catholic Church sought out to burn Bibles and to persecute all Christians using their ancient torture techniques and the like. There's plenty of videos on YouTube if you want to further look into that. And scrolling down into the chapter, he talks about the building, the kingdom that is built upon, and the relation of the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou saw was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell upon the earth shall wonder, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. And here is the mind which have wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains in which the woman sitteth. Now, there's a direct correlation with that. If you look at where the Vatican is located, and you look at where our nation's capital is located, they both are on 7 hills. And they describe that. I can't remember off the top of my head where they're referring to, but that's how they're sitting. Now, we know from, Big John discussed it in times past, which they're sitting on, was it Pergamon, right, John?
Nod from
Nod.
Genesis,
Yeah. So it has a direct correlation with biblical prophecy and their relation into the end times. And going on in verse 10, there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And whence he cometh, he must continue a short space.
Diane, it didn't even go in blue letters, so that link didn't even load.
So basically, this is the system in which they will be ushering in the son of perdition, the Antichrist, to rule over this world. A lot of people have their speculations on who and what it is. I even posted a video on TikTok about one of those individuals who people may perceive as being the Antichrist. But we have to understand it's going to be coming out of this system. This is the beast system in which all his worship. Look at what the Vatican has done already, establishing a one-world religion, Islam. We've talked about that a few times here on this broadcast platform, that they are incorporating Judaism, Christianity, Islam all under one group. Those are the 3 major religions in this world. So they're going to be responsible for bringing all these entities together under the one roof to worship one lowercase g God, which is Satan, which is going to be sitting on the throne of the Most High God, declaring himself that he is God. And those having one mind, in verse 13, will give power and strength unto this beast. And they will make war with the Lamb. The Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and King of kings. That is the gospel. We have a God that is going to overcome all the impurities of this on this earth, all the evilness, all the wickedness, all the blasphemous acts that they try to portray against the Most High God. He will overcome them. So we have to hold on to this. And as we continue to look in the news, we've seen wars escalating as far as like what's going on with Russia and the United States and Venezuela and Mexico invading our borders and China in our midst. We have to understand this all has to pass because the day of the Lord is at hand. So with those of you who aren't saved, I encourage you to open up your Bibles and read, because it will talk to you, it will teach you what is going on and what you need to do to prepare for what is to come, and build that relationship with the Most High God, the one who created you out of dust, the one who knows every single strand of hair in your head by number, who knew you before you were even born. He gave you life. And the devil that has been prowling on this earth, who's going to be manifesting himself in the flesh through the great apotheosis in Washington, D.C., to declare himself as God, is going to bring death to you, both physically and spiritually, for eternity. Turn to Jesus, for he is the one that will give you everlasting life and have all the treasures stored for you in heaven. That's all for tonight.
All right.
Okay, guys, I'll finish off with a sky watch.
Vernon Central High School, how may I help you?
I'm going to help you, actually.
Really?
Fighting over dwindling resources while others lock themselves inside their homes and bunker down for what might be weeks without any tangible. What if you walked out your front door tomorrow morning and found that the sky was totally eclipsed by what appeared to be unidentified alien craft? What if you ran back into the house only to discover every emergency television station on Earth broadcasting frantic, esoteric, difficult to follow information about terrified neighborhoods taking to the streets, rioting, fighting over dwindling resources while others lock themselves inside their homes and bunker down for what might be weeks without any tangible or coherent explanation of what is happening all over the earth? Would people be clamoring for a savior figure to step in and make sense of it all? To step in and restore peace? Will we soon face a world-changing event just like the one I'm describing? Today's guest is here to help us prepare for what may be coming at us sooner than later. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Skywatch TV. What a treat we have in store for you today. Before we dive into today's panel, let me introduce our special guest. He's an Air Force veteran, author, radio show commentator, podcaster, and public speaker. He's the writer of Gen 6 Productions' Mega Drought and the Lies of Men and Gods. Please welcome Mr. Daniel Holdings. If you missed last week, we talked about the Vatican's interest in alien disclosure. The idea that ETs are out in the sky. Why are we looking at them through the large binocular, the Lucifer device? Why does the Vatican have such a vested interest in following the activity of aliens and unidentified flying objects? We also talked briefly about mandatory vaccines and the condition of the world being prepared for what might look like the Book of Revelation. Today, the subject of discussion will be centered around the brand new movie by Steve Quayle, Lies of Men and Gods, Exposing the Fallen Angel Agenda, the Genetic Corruption and Destruction of the Human Race. And Daniel is the lead writer and co-producer. Welcome back, Daniel. So good to have you. If you missed last week, you really got to go back because it was the beginning of a special investigation series that we're doing on this topic. Let's get back into the conversation. We're talking about aliens. You used the words last week, fallen angels. I've heard my father, Tom, and Derek both use the terms many, many times, watchers, when describing entities or fallen angels or aliens. Do you think that these aliens are the watchers that the pseudepigraphal books of the Bible speak about?
You know, that's a great question, because let me take you back to Genesis, in the garden, right? And it says in Genesis 1 that the serpent was more cunning than all the rest. That's always bothered me. The serpent, that's reptilian.
Yeah.
That's a dragon. That's not a human. That's not what we would consider a cherub, because Don, as you know, Lucifer's a fallen cherub, right? So that's not the picture that you have.
Right.
So where does this terminology come from? As I was writing the data points, I'll call them, for the movie, again, going back to the fact that your father was on the Unholy See with us, he said something just as an afterthought in that interview. And it was just, again, it was a kind of a disjointed thing, but just he wanted to throw it in there. And he said, and you know, the pseudepigraphal books say that the watchers were reptilian. I was like, man, that makes perfect sense. Tom, what do you think of that whole idea of the serpent in the garden? Was that one of the watchers?
Well, I think that the fallen angels have a relation with each other. One of them was the head of all the rest of them. Many people believe that that was what was manifest in the garden as a quote serpent, or maybe even a fiery flying seraphim, which is also in the scripture, which are denoted with reptilian-like features. When Steve Quayle and I were in the Four Corners talking to the tribal elders down there, they pointed out to us that in many of the petroglyphs that they have painted these objects, and many of these predating the life of Christ, the time of Jesus Christ, are thousands of years old. And they can tell because as they get older, the whatever it was they used for ink gets darker and darker. It's like a tarry-like subject matter. But they pointed out to us that if you go there, you can see the earliest stories of creation, as well as when a portal opened above Mount Graham, which we had gone to, and we got a lot of the legend out of there, but also in the Four Corners. And you can see this spiral that they draw opening. And what is coming through it? It is a reptilian entity that comes through to deceive. Dr. Don Mose told us the same thing. PhD, we went to the Navajo Nation, told us the same thing, that this entity came through and started deceiving all of the nations of the world, to go into their kivas, to go into their underground holy places, their version of a church, if you will, or a chapel, and start conducting witchcraft. That's what the serpent taught them how to do. Then they became cannibalistic. They started eating one another. So it led them to this horrible place. But I think they're also describing what is spoken of in the Dead Sea Scrolls when it describes one of these entities by the name of Makarisha. And it is described as very serpent-like, very dark, like an adder, very destructive and terrible. And when you go into the Four Corners area, they're painting this creature coming through a vortex to deceive the nations of the world.
What's really interesting about the Bible is that we tend to think of the Watchers, or most people who've heard of the term of the Watchers associate them with the book of First Enoch and the sons of God, who, according to Jude and Peter, are now in the abyss. Peter, 2 Peter 2:4, is specific in saying that they're in Tartarus, which is a level below Hades. But we see in Daniel chapter 4 the punishment of Nebuchadnezzar for his pride. Nebuchadnezzar's dream: I saw in the visions of my head as I lay in bed, and behold, a watcher, a holy one, came down from heaven. And then verse 17, the sentence is by decree of the Watchers, the decision by the word of the holy ones. Apparently, this is a class of angelic being or supernatural being with some power and authority given to them by God. Some of them, obviously from Daniel, are still faithful, but there appears to be others who have chosen badly, like most of us humans. There is none righteous, no, not one. Well, apparently in the spirit realm, many of them have exercised free will to rebel as well. So yes, I think these Watchers could in fact be some of these entities that are in the movie Lies of Men and Gods.
Yeah. So when you see the film, because again, we'll go through the evidence, but you can't separate the fact that those things have been buried for thousands of years, and all of a sudden they're showing Watchers on them. They're showing reptilian angels. And the idea that Lucifer was a cherub. Cherubs aren't supposed to look reptilian, as far as my understanding goes. So we like to think of things in Christian terms, that things go this way, this way, this way, and this way. What I think we are seeing is the idea that we don't know nothing.
Right. And you skipped by that so quickly for the viewers at home. You talked about this expedition where you guys actually go and dig and bring up these old ancient artifacts. Just unpack that for a little bit, because we moved past it so quickly. Give some context to that adventure.
So there have been two expeditions that Gen 6 is funded, that Steve Quayle is funded specifically. And the first one occurred 2021. The second one occurred last year. What we did, because some of those artifacts were brought to our director of antiquities down there, Jesse, and he didn't see them dug out of the ground. And so there have been a lot of comments, well, those are fake. Those aren't
sure.
Okay.
Wasn't there, didn't see it, pull it out.
Exactly. And they look too good to be fake. So what Steve purposed to do is he wanted to capture on camera every shovel, every cutting down of a branch, every cutting down of a tree, using geo radar to find these things and dig them out on camera. So what we found, there's a huge hole. It's like 8 feet tall. And again, every shovel, you see every shovel undone. You see branches, roots being cut, and these artifacts being pulled out, showing Toltecs, Aztecs, Mayans, all interacting with aliens. Ancient history coming alive on camera. Now, that was part of the impetus for this movie. Wait a minute. We have evidence. We have seen this.
Right.
And so, therefore, why is it that they are telling us that they don't know anything about this, but yet these aliens have been around for thousands and thousands of years?
It's like we farm out the authoritative final conclusion to the government to tell us what the reality behind all of this is when we can discern with our own eyes what we're seeing. These were ancient objects that all depicted the same types of interactions with something or someone or some beings from outer space or from above, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even more than that, though, why are we farming out the answers to these questions to the New Agers who want to tell us that these are our space brothers who are coming back to help us ascend?
Yeah, well, they're getting that from the Vatican, so, because that's what the Vatican, they're Opus Dei level theologians are writing papers on this, and it's a slow process to go through to be accepted as doctrine, but they're working on it at the Pope's Academy.
Again, another data point, exactly what you just said. When we went back and we looked at what you and Chris Putnam found out at the Vatican and those comments about Opus Dei theologians working on new doctrine, accepting our alien brothers. Francis just a couple of years ago said, yeah, we'll baptize aliens. And then a few years later, he said, well, maybe because we know that we're fallen and they're not, maybe they will come baptize us in a new understanding. Folks, this is the great deception. This is what we need to understand.
It's a setup.
This has been developed for decades, if not hundreds of years, and we are at the culmination of that deception. Joe, you asked me last program why there's an increase in frequency of UFO sightings. Because of that, because they are about to unveil just what you and Chris found. They are about to unveil the Antichrist, or at least his representative, them, and they will tell us that they made us. They will tell panspermia, the old panspermia is that aliens seeded life on this planet. They will say that Christ was an alien and he was superior to us, and then we would be called to worship them.
Right.
That is what this is coming to, the great deception.
I don't think that every person that would identify as Catholic subscribes to all of this. So excluding those that are totally not buying the idea that they have any personal interest in ET or UFO disclosure. We know in point of fact, though, Tom, that there are those in the Vatican at the very high level who are very preoccupied with this idea of aliens.
Well, but I have a lot.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I have a lot of quotes here, but we asked Brother Guy Consolmagno that very question before we went up to Mount Graham. And by the way, you don't just get in your car and drive up to Mount Graham and jump up and say, we're here to see the aliens. You have to have permission. We went up we went up with a guide. He got us to pass all the locks.
We had to wear security badges.
Yeah, you were there, me and you and Chris Putnam. Yeah. But before we went, I interviewed Brother Consolmagno because he is the director of the Vatican astronomy groups. He's the Pope's personal astronomer, all those kind of things. So I wanted to get, to the bottom line. And here's an interesting story. I'll make it very quick. He had written a book called Intelligent Life in the Universe. They were heralding this before it came out. As everybody had great anticipation.
Yeah.
I signed up, paid for it to get it early. Literally the week it came out, I got a refund. They pulled the book. Took it off the market literally as soon as it came out. I'm like, now the mystery's really growing, right? So I wanted to know why that was the case. Anyway, I asked Brother Consolmagno about it. He gave me a gibberish kind of an answer. But then I asked him, and this was breakthrough. I said, well, is there any way I could get a copy of the PDF of the book since it was pulled so quickly? And he surprised me by sending it to me. You read through that book, and he makes the case that the Nephilim are what today we would call aliens, right? And he even makes the case that this represents a high angelic order, that they're going to be coming back, and they could be our saviors. But then he goes further. And let me just get this to you very quickly. When I asked him, does the Vatican's top astronomer actually mean to say that the Nephilim from the Bible are an example of the kind of space saviors that we could soon look to for salvation? He sent me his book, and he highlighted this part of his book where that incredible association is only surpassed by this. And here's what he says, and I'm quoting from his book. In quoting John 10:16, which says, "And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd." And then Consolmagno follows that by saying this: perhaps it is not so far-fetched to see the second person of the Trinity, Jesus, the Word, who was present in the beginning, John 1:1, coming to lay down his life and to take it up again, John 10:18, not only as the Son of Man, but also as a child of these other races. So then I emailed him back and I said, literally? Really? You're telling me Jesus is the star child of an alien race, that the Immaculate Conception was actually an abduction scenario in which aliens took Mary and impregnated her with this divine seed? He wouldn't answer. No more questions following that, but it's in his book. And I have sent that book to different people who've asked for it. But when I make that assertion, they're like, you've got to be putting me on.
Yeah.
But it's his words, it's in his book. And I think they pulled it because it was right at the same time they're coming, they might be our saviors. Like you just said a moment ago, we're not going to be baptizing them. They're going to be baptizing us.
You know, one of the other people in that movie that we, from our original footage that didn't make the Unholy See, was Leo Zagami. Leo Zagami's a researcher,
Right.
that kind of thing. Well, Leo Zagami got a picture of Father how do you say his name?
Conflamagno.
That guy. He got a picture of him and the head Satanist doing an exorcism in Rome. Now, and he says this, how can the head Satanist work with an exorcist from the Catholic Church?
Mhm.
So there is this
Literally Satan casting out Satan.
Exactly, exactly. There is an underlying story woven under here that they do not want the general public to find out. Even to our Catholic brothers and sisters that faithfully worship Jesus. That's not who we're talking to. We're talking about the Jesuits. We're talking about the people that are doing satanic worship according to testimony at a special location in Rome. This goes far deeper than what we're talking about here, just aliens.
Yeah, I'll follow that when we come back from the break. Yeah, something that Malachi Martin told us.
We're going to take a quick break so that you can learn how you can get your copy of Lies of Men and Gods. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
There is a huge web of deception that has been intentionally woven into the underbelly of everything we perceive to be reality here on Earth. And it is compounded by falsehoods uttered from the lips of our governments, militaries, and even the Vatican. But what is the lie? And what is at stake? Skywatch TV is proud to present The Lies of Men and Gods Hyper Video Collection. When you order the new documentary film by Steve Quayle and Daniel Holdings, Lies of Men and Gods, exposing the fallen angel agenda, the genetic corruption and destruction of the human race from the Skywatch TV store. You'll also receive the 2 full-length bonus DVDs, Humanity's Twilight and Extinction Protocols. First, in the brand new groundbreaking documentary Lies of Men and Gods, you will see how the globalists who control our governments, militaries, and parts of the Vatican are working to condition the masses of the world to accept the premise that aliens set to arrive here on Earth very soon are our technological Bible prophecy like Steve Quayle and Dr. Thomas Horn. This incredible expose burrows deep into the veiled reality of evil, which Satan is actively trying desperately to keep hidden from view, with never-before-seen footage of evidence that points to the absolute genetic corruption of human beings. This film, Absolute Genetic Corruption of Human Beings. This film endeavors to give you the unfiltered truth about who and what is actually controlling our planet. In The Lies endeavors to give you the unfiltered truth about who and what is actually controlling our planet. In The Lies of Men and Gods Hyper Video Collection, you'll also receive Daniel Holdings' DVD presentation, Humanity's Twilight. This fascinating DVD Men and Gods Hyper Video Collection, you'll also receive Daniel Holdings' DVD presentation, Humanity's Twilight. This fascinating DVD delves into one of the most tumultuous times in recent American history, and how modern-age pandemics are being used by governments of the world to usher in a massive loss of individual freedoms, civil unrest, famine, and even war. This video presentation serves as an outright warning about what's coming in the days ahead. But that's not all. Also included in this must-have collection is...
Okay.
Collection is...
Okay. I didn't know that was going to be so long, that ad. Good night, Di.
Welcome back to Skywatch TV. The subject of discussion today is Lies of Men and Gods, the film by Steve Quayle. And of course, we're in studio with the lead
Okay,
writer
guys,
and
I'm out.
co-producer, Mr.
God
Daniel
bless.
Holdings. I want to get right back into the interview. That was outrageous, where we had to